Emily from Ballet Quad Cities. This is like my favorite program that we do at the library, so I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, Mary. You have been to the Quad Cities?
And there's a lot of tornadoes there.
Sometimes there are. Well, as Mary said, my name is Emily. I am the Artistic Associate with Ballet Quad Cities, which means that I help plan and create the ballets that we put on stage. And today, we are doing a very exciting activity called Dance Me a Story. Raise your hand if you like to read stories or if you like to have stories read to you. Reading is one of my very favorite things to do in the world.
I love my mom read to because I hate reading.
You don't like reading yourself? Sometimes it's fun to have things read to us.
I like mommy all by myself. I like reading. I can read all by myself.
What about dancing? Raise your hand if you like to dance. Oh, I see a lot of dancers in the room. Very good. Today, we are going to do both of those things. First, we are going to read the story of Tom Thumb, and then we are going to make our very own danced ballet story based on this book. Now, how do you think that we will be able to make a story without any words? What will we use instead? We will use dance, and we will also use music.
We just can't see the picture.
We'll look at the pictures first to have them inspire us a little bit for our ballet. But first, we'll read the story of Tom Thumb.
Person has to go which way.
So while I'm reading the story, you'll listen for the different characters, the people in the story. You'll listen for the actions, and you'll put in your memory which events came first and second and third, so we'll know what order to put our story in. So this is the story of Tom Thumb. There are some parts in this story that are a little bit scary, but it's just make-believe. It's not real. This is a very old story. It was written 400 years ago. It was one of the very first stories ever written in the English language. Tom Thumb. A poor woodcutter sat by the fire one evening while his wife sat across from him, spinning wool into yarn. He said, "What a sad thing it is that we have no children. We live too quietly. A child would cheer us up." "Yes," said his wife. "I'd even be glad to have one the size of my thumb." Some time later, they had a son, and sure enough, he was no bigger than a thumb. They named him Tom Thumb, and they loved him dearly and gave him the best of care. Imagine if you were only as big as your thumb. That's pretty small, isn't it? He was very, very small. Time passed. Tom never grew any larger, but he was strong and healthy. He became a quick, bright child who did well at whatever he tried. One morning, when his father was getting ready to go into the forest to cut some wood, he said, "I wish I had someone to bring me the horse and cart later on." "Leave the horse to me," said Tom. "I can bring him." "Very well," replied his father. That afternoon, Tom climbed up and sat between the horse's ears. "Get up," he called to the horse in a big, brave voice, and away they went together. Two strangers were passing through the woods and saw the horse galloping. They heard Tom calling to it to turn right or left, but there was no one to be seen. "That's very strange," they said. "Let's follow the cart and see what happens when it stops." Soon, the men came to the spot where Tom's father was waiting, and they hid behind a tree. "Here I am, Father," Tom called. "Didn't I drive the horse well?" "Yes, you're a fine boy," said the woodcutter, and he lifted Tom to his shoulder. "We could make a fortune with that odd little fellow," said one of the men. If we showed him in the towns for money, people would pay to see him. Let's buy him." "Hey there," he said to the woodcutter. "Here's a fine piece of gold. Sell us the boy. We'll take good care of him." "No," said the woodcutter. "He is all my wife and I have, and we love him with all our hearts." But Tom whispered in his father's ear, "Take the gold and don't worry about me. I'll be home before you know it." "Well, all right then," said the woodcutter, and he took the gold. One of the men put Tom into the rim of his hat, and they all said their goodbyes. Tom's father went one way with the horse and the wood and the piece of gold. The two men went the other way with Tom riding on the hat. After a while, Tom called, "Let me down." "No," said the men, "you'll just run away." "But it's important," said Tom. So the men put Tom down in the grass. Quick as a wink, he ran into a mouse hole. "Goodbye, gentlemen," he called. The men looked everywhere, but they could not see Tom. They poked into the mouse hole, but he stayed safely out of reach. "We've been tricked," they said angrily, and they went on their way. When Tom came out of the hole, the moon was up. "Traveling at night is risky," Tom said, so he curled up in a snail shell that lay in the field nearby. There he is, sleeping in a snail shell. Nope, he's just sleeping. He has a leaf for his blanket. It's very dark outside, and we see all the tall grass around him.
How do you even make it?
Just as he was falling asleep, he heard two men passing by. "That rich man has gold and silver and jewels, but how can we get in to steal them?" said one man. "I can help you," shouted Tom. "Whose voice is that? Where are you?" asked the thieves. "Here, in the grass." When the thieves saw Tom, they laughed. "How could a little fellow like you help us?" they said. "I could slip into the house and hand out to you whatever you want," said Tom. "All right, it's worth a try," said the thieves. "Come along." But when Tom got inside the house, he called out in a loud voice, "What do you want? Shall I hand out everything?" "Shh," said the thieves, "not so loud." Tom pretended not to understand. "Hold out your hands," he shouted. "Here's some gold." The maid heard the noise and came with a lamp. Quickly the thieves ran away, and Tom, pleased with himself, tiptoed out to the barn. There he went to sleep in a pile of soft hay, thinking he'd be home for dinner the next day. In the morning, the maid came to feed the cow. She picked up the pile of hay where Tom was sleeping, and when he woke up, he was in the cow's mouth. The cow swallowed, and Tom slid into her stomach. He screamed, but the maid had already left to do the baking. Look, there's the cow and the maid. Later, the maid came back to milk the cow. Imagine her surprise when she heard a voice inside it crying, "Let me out!" She ran to her master. "The cow is talking," she said. Her master came to listen. Again, a voice called, "Let me out! Let me out!" The master turned pale with fright. "It is an evil spirit," he said. "We must get rid of the cow." So he butchered the cow and threw her stomach into the rubbish heap, with Tom still inside. Tom twisted and turned, trying to get out of the stomach, and just as he was beginning to smell the fresh air, a starving wolf came by. The wolf pounced on the stomach and gulped it down, but still Tom did not lose courage. "Dear friend," Tom called from inside the wolf, "I know where you can find the most delicious food." Tom has a plan. "Where is that?" asked the wolf. "In the woodcutter's house," said Tom. "I will tell you how to get there." When they came to the house, Tom said, Go to the narrow window in the back and force yourself through. That's where the pantry is. The wolf pushed his way through the narrow window and ate until he was stuffed full. But when he tried to leave, his stomach had grown so big and fat that he could not get out. Now Tom began to scream as loud as he could, "Help! Help!" "Be quiet," said the wolf. "You'll wake everyone up." But Tom kept on screaming. Before long, the woodcutter and his wife heard the noise and came with an axe. This is the scary part. Upon seeing the wolf, the woodcutter shouted, "I'll get you, thief!" And he swung the axe back and forth. "Father, father," yelled Tom, "I'm in the wolf's belly." "Don't worry, I won't hurt you," said the woodcutter. And he struck the wolf dead with one blow. Then he cut the wolf open and took Tom out. "Thank heavens you're back. Where on earth have you been?" "I've been seeing the world," said Tom. "Now I'm happy to breathe the fresh air again. I've been inside a mouse hole, a snail shell, a cow's stomach, and a wolf's belly. And now I will stay right here with you. And we will never give you away again for all the gold in the world," said his parents, and hugged and kissed their child. The end. Wasn't that kind of a silly story?
Yeah.
Could you imagine if you were so small that you could go inside of a mouse hole or a snail shell?
Oh my God, that would be terrifying.
In real life, we're too big to do those things, but since this story is imaginary, Tom Thumb could do those things.
When the snake got me, what if he was small like your pinky?
That would be pretty small too. Let's remember some of the things that happened in our story. Where did our story start?
Oh, it started where he was like laid under a mushroom.
It did? Ah, that was the picture. Tom was laying just like on the cover. This is where our story started. Our story started in Tom's house. Do we remember who the first two characters we met are?
Ma and Pa.
His mother and father, the woodcutter and his wife. That's a very important part of our story. Do you remember? Raise your hand if you remember what happens next in the story. Where does Tom's father go? Where does Tom's father go?
The woodcutter's house.
They were in the woodcutter's house, and then Tom's father goes into the forest, and Tom brings him the horse. What characters did we meet next in our story?
Strangers.
The strangers, and they bought Tom for a piece of gold.
What?
And what happened then? Did Tom escape?
Yeah.
He did, and he hid in a mouse hole until it was nighttime.
Can I have my phone?
Then what characters did we meet?
I know.
Do you know?
I think it was I need the pepper. The cow? I need the
It was the part with the cow. We met the thieves who tried to steal all the gold from the man's house. But then Tom accidentally gets fed to the cow, and he ends up in the cow's stomach. Where does he go after he's in the cow's stomach?
Oh, I think a wolf's belly.
Where does he go?
A wolf's belly.
He gets into the wolf's belly. And where does he lead the wolf?
To the house.
He leads the wolf back to his own house. Tom is very clever. And what happens when the wolf gets to Tom's house? Who can raise their hand and tell me if you remember? What happens when they get to his house?
The woodcutter kills him.
He does. He sneaks the wolf into Tom's house, but the wolf can't get out. Why can't the wolf get out of the house?
Because he's too fat.
His belly is too fat from eating all of the food. And then what is the very, very ending of our story? Does our story have a sad ending or a happy ending? I think it's a happy ending because Tom is reunited with his family. So, boys and girls, we need some characters in our story. We can do this a couple of ways. We can all create the story and be all of the characters, or we can divide up into groups and play the characters
I
individually.
want to just do the characters because I do not want to be in a group with my sister.
Oh.
Me neither.
So let's make some groups of characters, boys and girls, and then we'll start to put our story together. Our first characters, there are 3 of them, and more than one people can be the characters. We need Pa the woodcutter, we need the woodcutter's wife, and we need Tom Thumb. Raise your hand if you would like to be one of those characters, and come stand up by me. We'll get into groups first, and then we'll create our story. Okay, who wants to be the woodcutter? Do I have a group of woodcutters? Okay, let's have you stand right here. Come over here if you want to be the woodcutter.
The purple one. The purple one.
What if you would like to be Tom Thumb? Do we have a couple of characters that want to be Tom Thumb? Will only be one character. Come on over, Tom Thumb. I love your costume. All right, Tom Thumb.
It's Fancy Nancy.
Okay, then we need a character to be the horse that Tom rides into the forest. You would like to be the horse? A couple of us would like to be the horse. You can be the horse too. 1, 2, we'll have 3 horses. Tom Thumb, stay where you are. So we have the woodcutter. Is that you? Yeah. All right. Are you the woodcutter's wife? Would you like to be that character? We have Tom Thumb and we have some horses. Then we need some strangers.
I will be a stranger.
You would like to be a stranger? Come stand over here. Who else would like to be a stranger?
Me.
You would? All right. Now we need some characters to be the trees in the forest and the flowers in the field. Some of us would like to be the trees and the flowers. Let's make a group right here. Would you like to be the trees and the flowers? All right. Then we need some characters to be the thieves. Would anyone like to be the thieves? No one? No one wants to be the bad guys? That's all right. We can pretend that part with our imaginations. All right. Let's start our story. We'll put the first scene together, and then we'll make the next one. So, my woodcutter and my woodcutter's wife. Is that you? Right, come on over here. This is the woodcutter's house. So, what do woodcutters do? Do they chop wood?
Yeah.
How could you show chopping wood? What if you were holding onto an axe and you were chopping? And then they wish to have a child. How could we show the audience without words a child? Maybe cradling a baby? That's very good. And a while later, here comes Tom Thumb. Very, very small. You are big and strong. Would anyone else like to help her play Tom Thumb? You would? Come on up. Let's make up a dance that is Tom Thumb. Tom is very small. How could you show that you were very small? You could make your body little. Tom Thumb is also strong and brave. How could you show that you were strong and brave? Let's come up with some moves that look strong and brave. You could put your hands on your hips like that. How else could you show? You could get up big. What if you put your arms in the air to show how strong you are? Very good, my Tom Thumbs. Okay, let's practice your Tom Thumb dance. You make yourself very small. Then you're strong. Get up on your knees like this. Put your hands on your hips. And then you are brave and strong. Now, the next part of our dance happens in the forest. Who are my trees and my flowers? Do you remember if you were the trees and flowers?
I'm not.
I need 4 flowers.
I want to be the flower too.
I need 4 flowers.
I wanna
1,
be a tree.
2.
I want to be a tree.
3. I need one more flower. Would anyone else like to be a flower? Come on up. And I need some trees. Would you like to be trees? Hold those in each hand.
Oh, I got so much trees.
Trees. I need a couple more trees. Whoop, you lost one.
The wind is blowing everywhere.
Would you like to be a tree?
Yeah.
I need a few more trees. Would anyone else like to be a tree? Would you like to be trees? You wouldn't? You can. Would you like to be a tree? A few more trees? Excellent. You can take 2, 1 for each hand.
What? There's more trees?
Would you like to be a tree?
I want to be a tree.
You're Tom Thumb. Would anyone else like to be a tree? You're Tom Thumb too. Come on up and be a tree. Take 1 in each hand, and you'd like to be a tree? Up.
My tree is stuck.
Here, you can be a tree with this. Okay, trees, come close to me. How could we move our streamers like we're trees? Could you wave them up high like your branches are blowing? Could you sway your body in the wind? Beautiful. What if you were a small tree? You could be low, you could be the grass. Very nice. Let's wave your streamers low as the grass and wave them high as the trees. All right, my flowers come close. Let's make up a dance for the flowers. Someone hid behind their flower. That was a pretty good idea. You hid behind it. What else do flowers do? Do they grow big?
Yeah.
Could you grow big slowly? Could you grow big so big you rise up on your toes? Could you turn around?
Look, I'm on my table.
Excellent. Could you move your petals to one side and then to the other side? Very good. Now, Tom Thumb and the woodcutter and the horses come galloping into the forest. Can you gallop? You can. Okay, my forest, I want you to stand over here, and my trees and my flowers. So we're going from the woodcutter's house to the forest. Uh-oh, your skirt fell off. We can make that a little bit smaller for you.
I need the purple one.
There you go. All right, Tom Thumb and my woodcutter and my woodcutter's wife, we're going to come galloping into the forest. Can you gallop? Can you gallop around the forest? Keep moving, trees and flowers. Then the strangers come along. Who are my strangers?
I'm a stranger.
Oh, I can hold
I'm a stranger.
Okay, strangers, you can set, when you're done with your trees and flowers, you can tuck them into your waistband of your skirt or I can take them for you.
Yeah, I want you to take them.
All right, I'll take them for you. My strangers, find Tom Thumb. Where's my Tom Thumb? There you are. And the strangers take Tom Thumb away. So, forest, you're going to come into a clump, get very, very small. Come close, forest. Right here. My strangers step aside. Okay, strangers and Tom Thumb and the woodcutter. Okay, forest, we get very small. Strangers and Tom Thumb and the woodcutter. We go where the audience can see you. And the woodcutter goes one direction. Who is my woodcutter? That was you, right?
My sister.
You're going to go that way. And the strangers and Tom Thumb are going to go that way.
The horses also come.
Horses go with the woodcutter. And the horses gallop. Good work. That was a lot for the first part of our story. Shall we practice that with some music?
Yeah.
Let's go back to the beginning once and talk it through. All right. We're going all the way back to the woodcutter's house. So, forest and flowers, Take your streamers back. Woodcutter and the woodcutter's wife. Were you a forest? You were a horse. Who else was a forest? All right, woodcutter and the wife and Tom Thumb. Come over by the chair. The chair will be your house.
I want to be a fun.
You want to be one of the Tom Thumbs? You can. Go over into the house.
I want to be the woodcutter. I want to be the woodcutter.
All right.
The woodcutter. Oh, Casper. I want to be the woodcutter.
All right.
Be the woodcutter.
But you're one of the flowers. It's a very important part to be a flower. All right, woodcutter, do you remember what you did? You were chopping wood. Very good. And Tom Thumb, or the woodcutter's wife, and the woodcutter wished for a baby. Then, Tom Thumb, let's have you start over there in your story. Then, here come the Tom Thumbs. Come here. You're very small, but you are brave and you are strong. Then the woodcutter and Tom Thumb galloped into the forest. Forest, are you ready? Trees and flowers? Show me your moves. Wave your streamers low and high. Flowers, do you remember your growing dance? All right, here we go. Tom Thumb and the woodcutter, we gallop into the forest. And the horses, we gallop around the forest. Very good, trees and flowers. Then, woo! I need my strangers.
I'm a stranger too.
Strangers, come along. And you offer Tom Thumb's father some gold. And Tom Thumb and the strangers go this way. And the father and the horses go that way. Go ahead, horses, and go ahead, woodcutter. They go opposite directions. That was pretty good for the first part of our story. Let's make the second part. This is the part that gets a little bit scary. So you can give me back your props. Now, Tom Thumb meets the thieves. You can. And they try to steal all the gold from the house. Let's all act out this part together. Do you remember what the thieves tried to do? No. They tried to steal from inside the house. And Tom, instead of being quiet, he was very smart. He wanted the thieves to get caught. So he shouted loud. How could we show shouting? Just by using our bodies, not our voices. We could open our mouths. Could you do big movements like this? Let's show shouting that way. And then what did the thieves do? Did they tell him to be quiet? They did. They said, shh. And Tom was able to go sneak into the barn. Can you show me how you would be sneaky? Sneaky with quiet steps.
I get a beanie.
And then he becomes very tired and he lays down to sleep in a pile of hay. Show me how you would be tired. But we don't use our voices. That's good. You might yawn and stretch. And then you are tired and sleeping. Do you remember what happens next?
No.
He ended up in the cow's mouth. What would happen to you? What do you think if you were getting chewed up? Do you think your body would get all squished up and weird?
Yeah.
If you were getting chewed up by a cow? Show me how you can make squishy, tangled shapes with your body. Oh, those are some great ideas, dancers. How tangly can you be? Can you put your arms weird in all the wrong places? Very good. Get so tangly. And then you end up in the cow's stomach where it's dark.
Can you?
You need help? Do you want it back on or off?
On.
Then Tom gets
I wanna be the woodcutter.
the woodcutter. At the end of the story, you can be the woodcutter. What animal did we meet next after the cow?
I think it would be the coyote.
I heard somebody say it. It's close.
Whoa.
The wolf. Very good. How could you move like a wolf?
Like this.
Sneaky. Could you put your big, big paws out and take fierce, big steps? Very good. And the wolf sees the stomach with Tom in it, and he eats it. He opens his mouth wide and chomps it up. Very good. And little Tom Thumb is inside shouting, "Let me out, let me out." How could we show "let me out" without using our words? Do you think maybe Tom would be jumping up and down trying to get out? Can you show me how he would do that? He would be jumping up and down. Maybe he would be beating on the sides of the wolf's belly to try to get out. You want help? These are a little tricky. There you go. All right, shall we practice that part? Tom is shouting at the thieves. And the thieves tell him. And Tom is able to chase the thieves away. And then he tiptoes out to the barn. Tiptoe out. And he gets very tired. Show how you're tired. And he falls asleep in a pile of hay. The next thing he knows, he's getting tangled around and chewed up by the cow. Show me your tangled shapes. Get yourself as tangly as you can. Tangled. And then he ends up in the cow's stomach, in the rubbish heap, where he gets eaten by the wolf. Remember how we were the wolf? Big, sneaky, fearsome steps with your claws out until the wolf sees the stomach in the rubbish heap and he opens his mouth wide and gulps it down. And what does Tom do? He says, "Let me out."
Let me out.
Try it again without your voices. Very good. Let's practice that part with some music. This music is a little bit different. That other music was kind of peaceful. This music is a little bit scary. That's the music for the thieves. Tom shouts at them. Shouts at them. And they say, and then he sneaks into the barn. He becomes very tired. And he falls asleep. The next thing he knows, he's getting chewed up by the cow. Roll around like you're getting all tossed and turned in the cow's stomach. Then the wolf comes. Do you remember how the wolf moved? Big claws, big sneaky steps. Until the wolf opens his mouth up wide and eats the stomach whole. And Tom says, "Show me." It's very scary. Very good. That was kind of a hard one. Let's practice that one more time with our music, okay?
I need help.
Did your cape come undone? These ones are a little bit tricky sometimes.
Yeah. Every time I do my cow thing, it comes out.
Oh. All right.
Are we gonna watch a movie?
We won't watch a movie. It's like we're making a movie. Okay, my characters. Tom Thumb, you're shouting to the thieves. And the thieves said, "Be quiet, you'll wake everyone up." Then Tom Thumb tiptoes out to the barn and he falls asleep. Get very tired and fall asleep in the pile of hay. The next thing he knows, he's getting chomped up by the cow's teeth getting into its stomach, all tangled up. Next, the wolf comes sneaking by. Big, scary, sneaky steps. Until the wolf opens his mouth wide and chomps up the stomach hole. And then Tom says, let me out. Let me out. It's probably dark in there too. Cover your eyes because it's dark. Very good. Do you need help with this? Nice work, dancers. There you go.
This doesn't seem like dancing to me.
It's like dance acting. There's a lot of elements in dance.
Oh yeah, cause I'm in dancing.
Dancing.
Where is this?
Hey, you don't have to. All right, there is one more part of our story, my dancers.
I want the purple one. You know, periodic table is.
The next part of our story is when Tom leads the wolf back to the house. Now, if you were a very hungry wolf, how could you use some of the dance moves that you know? My dancers who take dance, I'm counting on you here. You're going to use some of the dance moves that you know to show how the hungry, hungry wolf would eat up all the food in the pantry. Show me some ways that you could. Good. You could touch your stomach. You're so hungry. That wolf is so hungry. What else could we do? Lick your lips. What else could we do for our wolf dance? Oh, you could wipe your mouth with your paw.
Why do you do this?
You could do that. What else could we do for our wolf dance? How could you show that your belly was so big you ate too much? You could put your belly out. What if you were trying to squeeze through a very small space that you were too big for? Make yourself very little and try to get through. Squeeze through. Very good, my wolves. Let's practice those again. You're so hungry. You're so hungry. You lick your lips. You wipe your mouth with your paws. Your belly is so big, you can't get out, but you try to squeeze through. Then I need a woodcutter.
I will be a woodcutter.
Who
I
would-
will be a woodcutter.
Oh my goodness, everyone wants to be the woodcutter. He's the hero in the story for this
I
part.
really want to be the woodcutter.
Okay, we all can share the part of the woodcutter. So I need some woodcutters and some wolves.
I want to be the woodcutter.
I want to be a woodcutter.
Me too.
Okay, you all are my woodcutters? What about my wolves? Can I have a group of wolves? Would you two like to be wolves? You don't?
I want to be the woodcutter.
You can be the woodcutter. All right, I'll be the wolf then. If no one else wants to. You want to? You want to help me be the wolf? Okay. The wolf, meanwhile, we're trying to squeeze through the door. And the woodcutters find the wolf. And you have to say, "I'll get you, you thief."
I'll get you, you thief.
That was very good with your voices. How would you show me that with your bodies? Good, you could stomp your foot at the wolf. What else could you do? Shake your fist at him?
Or maybe do this.
Oh, we could swing our arms. I'll get you, you thief. Can you make a big X in the air with your arms like you're swinging an axe? Very good, woodcutters. All right. Wolf is trying to squeeze through the pantry, and then the woodcutters come and say,
I'll get you. I'll get you, Mr.
"Good job, woodcutters." And then the woodcutter slices open the wolf's belly, and we can all be victorious Tom Thumb. He jumps out. Take a big jump towards your audience. They're all over there. You're free. And then Tom says that he's been all over the world. How could you show that you've been all over the world? Oh, that's a really good way of showing that, all over the world. Could you dance in a circle to show that you've been all over the world since the world is round? You could dance in a big circle. You've been all over the world. But you are always going to stay near your family. How could you show that you were going to stay near your home? You could make the shape of a home, of a house. Oh, and giving yourself a hug, that's nice. Your family, they probably hug you. You want a bigger one? All right. All right, shall we practice the last part of our story with music? Do you think you can do it without me, or do you want to practice it with me one more time? Okay.
And then we can do it all by ourselves.
I bet you all have very good memories. Okay, we started with our wolf. Let's try it with music with me.
You know that when my mom is, I do not want to stand anymore.
That's okay.
I feel.
All right, wolves.
Did you know when my mom is sleeping, I'm not even sleeping?
All right, my wolves. Do you remember what we did as the wolf? You were so hungry. And then you licked your lips. You wiped with your paws. Your belly was so big. And then you tried to squeeze through the door, but you couldn't. And here comes the woodcutter to say, I'll get you. And you take your axe and you swing it back and forth. And then you slice open the wolf's stomach. And out jumps Tom Thumb. You say you've been all over the world. Dance in your circle. Dance in your circle to show you've been all over the world. Anywhere you want to. Beautiful job. And then you say you are always going to stay in your home. You make the shape of your house. You're going to stay near your family. And at the very end of our story, we face our audience. They're all over there. Face them, turn around, face your audience if you have a family. And we take a bow. Now, my dancers, that was a lot to remember. Come close to me, my dancers. Thank you. Do you think that you remember everything we did and we could go all the way back to the beginning and do the whole thing from the very first part in the woodcutter's house?
Okay.
I think we can. I'll help you through it if you get stuck. So that means my trees and my forest and my flowers, you'll need your props again.
I want to be a tree. I want to do a twinkle, twinkle. I want to be a flower. I want to be a tree now.
You want to use that to be a flower?
I want to be the bad guy.
Do you want to be a flower? You want to be a tree?
I want to be the flower.
I think I'm all out of flowers, but you could be a green flower. Would you like to be a green flower? All right.
I want a different colored cape.
Would you like a black one or a green one?
A green one.
All right. Who else needs some flowers? You wanted to have one?
I think I want
The dark one? All right. All right, let's find a green one for you. This one might be a little bit small, but I think it can work. Does that feel okay? Awesome, you look great. All right, my forest, come over here. If you're the forest or the flowers, come stand in a group over here. Come on, my flowers and my forest. Are you still my horse?
I'm still a horse.
You're still the horse? Perfect.
Yeah, I want
All
to be
right.
a horse.
You can be a horse.
So
All right.
Let's go with that.
Here we go, Flowers and Forest. I need Tom Thumb and the woodcutter. Where's my Tom Thumb? There you are. Come on over. You want to do some new moves?
Yeah.
You can do new moves as Tom Thumb. You can dance however you want to. Think you can do that?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. My goodness, it's like we have a forest of tutus over here. All right, our story starts in Tom Thumb's house. The woodcutter and his wife would love to have a baby. And then they do. They have Tom Thumb. He's very small, but brave and strong. Tom Thumb and his father and their horse go galloping into the forest. Are you ready, forest and trees? Show me your moves. Show me your moves with your streamers, your flowers. We go galloping through the forest. Let's gallop in front of the forest. We go galloping through the forest and then galloping around the forest. Are you okay? Then, who are my strangers?
I was a stranger.
You want to be a stranger again?
I want to be a stranger.
All right.
I want to be a stranger this time.
Okay. Then, Tom Thumb and his father meet two
wasn't.
strangers. And they buy him for a piece of gold. And the strangers go this way. And Tom Thumb's father and the horse gallop off this way. Very good. Our next scene is the scary part. You can put your flowers down right here. Tom Thumb is shouting to the thieves, "You can steal the gold." And the thieves tell him, Tom tiptoes to the barn, very quietly. He gets tired, and he lays down to sleep. The next thing he knows, he's all tangled up, getting chewed up by a cow. Show how tangled you can be. Beautiful. And then we meet the wolf. Show me your big, sneaky wolf steps. The wolf opens his jaws wide and chomps up the stomach. And inside is poor Tom. He's jumping up and down, saying, "Let me out, let me out, let me out." He's beating on the sides of the walls. He can't get out. Then he leads the wolf to his house in the forest. Do you remember our wolf dance? You're so hungry. Your stomach is starving. You lick your lips. You wipe your mouth with your paws. Then your belly is so big, you can't get through the very, very, very small space. You're trying so hard until the woodcutter comes and says, "I'll catch you, you thief." He puts up his axe and swipes it around, and then he slices open the wolf's belly. And out jumps Tom Thumb. Jump forward like you just got out of the wolf's stomach and tell your family where you've been all over the world. You can dance around any way you want to. You can twirl, you can leap, you can scamper, show them all of the places you've been, all of the people you've met. And then Tom says, "I'm never going away again. I'm staying in my house, and I'm staying with my family." And then Tom turns to his audience, turn to your audience, and take a big, bow. Very good job, dancers. All right, my dancers and my actresses and actors, come close to me before we take our costumes off. You can sit crisscross applesauce.
Hands in your lap. Hey.
Let's talk about what we just did.
Hey.
We took a story that was a book. It was words written on paper, and we turned it into movement and music. And you know what's really fun is that you can do this with any story. What are some of your favorite stories? Does anyone have a favorite story? Yeah?
My favorite story is House of Jack.
The house that Jack built. That would be a really fun one to make into a story. What's one of your favorite stories? Chapter books? Chapter books would make for a really long story.
Chapter books. I also like chapter books.
You like chapter books? I bet it would be really fun to take one of your favorite chapter books and make it into a story that you danced.
Yeah, I think chapter books are.
So, with your imaginations and with any music that you like and any story that you like,
The ballerina though.
you like ballerina stories, you could take those and make them into a Dance Mia story too.
I like the ballerina ones.
So,
I like the princess ones the most.
boys and girls, raise your hand if you think that you could go home and use your imagination to make one of your favorite stories into a ballet. I bet you could. You all showed me some really creative ideas today. You have great imaginations. Let's give you all one more big, big round of applause for being such good dancers today. Families, thank you so, so much for bringing your young ones for this experience. They were excellent. We had a great time today. We hope to see you again at the next one.